Everard, what are the challenges that families face in Asia? And what are some of the things that banks like Bourdieu should do to help them?
The challenges faced by families for intergenerational wealth is double. The first issue is what everybody focuses on, which is the legal structuring of the wealth from one generation to the next. So they will come up with a lot of ideas on how to best protect the wealth to pass on from one generation to the next. But I believe the issue is completely different, because there are lots of professional lawyers and accountants that can very well structure these things, and the banks does not have an added value in that. I think that the issue is not passing on the wealth, is to ensure that the next generation itself protects the wealth that they receive and enhance it again, and understands the benefits that they received and honor the legacy that their parents have built. So for that, it's much more complex, because we're talking now of inner wealth issues of values and beliefs, and how do you ensure that your next generation does not squander the wealth you're giving them. And so that is the area of focus of our institution.
Everard, can you give me some practical examples?
For instance, I will take myself as an example, because, as I said, I'm a fifth generation person and I'm doing that with my children. I'm focusing on the sixth generation, and typically one thing we do is practically I will give pocket money to my children. Instead of doing it every day or every week, I would give them every month or every 6 months. And as the child grows grows older, we will obviously give them their pocket money in a much longer term. That focuses them on how do you spend your wealth and over time, right? We will ask them to do a ledger book in order to understand exactly what it means to receive pocket money, and you just don't have money for paying your food. You just have to put a little plus and minuses to ensure that you're knowing where you're spending your money. And those little things that you do as you grow will make it that your children will understand a bit more about money. Because generally in families, money is not talked about. Nobody talks about money, right? And it's difficult when you're receiving large amounts to know how to handle that.
And why is it that people don't like talking about money?
Because I think it's a social issue. I think socially it's not, especially in the Christian community, it's not something that you are boasting about. I think newly rich people or people that have recently acquired wealth will show it better. In Asia it's very typical that people will show their wealth more, but still they will not train their children to protect and enhance the wealth they receive.
And Everard, do you think what's important to families in Asia is different to what's important to families in Europe?
Not necessarily. As I said, the values and beliefs are commonly shared. It's not religious. It's basic values which are common to anyone. I think the wealth in Asia is a bit more recent, and therefore they do not have the history of Europe or the US with that regard. If you take, for instance, China, mainland China, it's very, very recent, and therefore they may need to have some advice on how to do it better.
Everard, there's obviously a growing opportunity given the growth in wealth in Asia, but do you think there's enough competent people to make the most of that opportunity?
I think it's always an offer and demand. As the market develops and the issue gets understood by the patriarch, legal professionals, accounting professionals, insurance companies, trustees will come in and try to fill the gap and try to get a pie of the share of the market. But at this stage, you're right, competency is scarce, and you want to work with the best.
Everard, as a wealthy individual, what are some of the considerations that you should think of when choosing a professional advisor?
First, you will get, like with any financial institution and any professional, lots of sales pitch to you, and therefore you need to try to find the ones which are the most relevant to you. I believe in partnerships. I believe that you need to trust someone. You cannot, everybody will sell you whatever they have to sell. So you need to find a person that you can trust that will guide you in finding the right professional. And then obviously comes the rest, which is due diligence on the institution you want to work with in terms of their market coverage, their expertise in a specific area, their reputation. and that will help you obviously deciding.
Everard, there's obviously broad topics that you've mentioned, but what do you think some of the priorities are for wealthy families in Asia?
It's very difficult to contribute on that subject specifically, because obviously every family will have their own needs and positioning. So it is, I would say, the most common or governance issue are a problem of power within a family, a patriarch wanting to keep control over the success of his business and therefore not letting the next generation move up and take control. There's obviously some legal structuring involved in it, but I would say that would be the three most important things we most recurrently think. And then there are also personal issues, which is members of the family which are not capable or do not want to participate in the growth of the next generation, people not, handicapped children, multiple families issues, multiple branches of family, ownership that has been split between multitude of families. So there's a lot of issues. And again, I think the client would have to find someone that he has to trust to talk about these, because it becomes quite personal.
And Everard, what are some of the obvious mistakes to try and avoid?
It's creating a trust when someone has the solution that fits it all. I think legal structuring, again, can be very helpful and is very used, but it has to be done intelligently. And an insurance product will not just solve all the problems. So again, just try to move out of the product selling to trying to find a more broader understanding of what the true issues are within a family.